Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Sterling Live. My name is Caitlin Brower. I am Sterling's social media manager, and I am also your host of Sterling Live. I'm so excited for today's episode, but let me kick it off by saying Happy Pride Month, everyone. So excited to be here. As you can see, I have two great guests above me. It's going to be a really great episode. We're going to have a lot of fun. We're going to learn a lot. And I'm just really, really excited to be here today. So without further ado, I'd love to introduce my guests to you. So today we have Mark Sward, Global Head of Privacy. Mark has been on Sterling Live before, so welcome back. And also Denise Haussy, Manager FP&A and Pricing. So thank you both for joining me. And again, as I said earlier, I did say Happy Pride Month, and that's our topic today. We are celebrating Pride Month 2023. So thank you both for joining me. I'd love for you to introduce yourselves to our audience. So Mark, I will start with you. Our audience has seen you before on Sterling Live, but we're so happy to have you back. Can you reintroduce yourself to our audience?
Absolutely. Thank you. And thanks so much for having me, and happy Pride. And thanks everyone in the audience for joining us. So yeah, that's right. I'm Mark Sward. My title is Vice President and Global Head of Privacy for Sterling. I'll talk a little bit about what I do in a minute. But just, personally, I'm originally from Chicago, but I moved to Canada, to Montreal, when I was in my late teens to go to university. And in university is really when I started my LGBTQIA plus activism, if you can call it that, or advocacy career. I was involved in the Queer Students Organization in university. And then a few years after I graduated, I started with a company called Backcheck, which is now part of Sterling. And that was in 2010. And I've been with the company ever since. I've been in a number of roles. I started in an operational role, fulfilling background checks. I was in a client success role for many years, supporting our Canadian clients. And then in 2014, I moved into a privacy role. And since then, I've been heavily involved in our privacy program. And since 2018, I've been leading our global privacy program, which basically supports our whole global business and all of our clients with privacy compliance around the world. So that's and now I'm in the US. I'm in Western Washington State.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us again. Denise, welcome to Sterling Live, and thank you for joining us. Can you go ahead and introduce yourself to our audience?
Yes, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here. My name is Denise, and I live in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And I've been with Sterling for just over 2 years now. I started in 2021 in the pricing department. And it was this past January that I took on a larger role in FP&A. So very involved in the finance piece, from running the P&L to understanding what pricing looks like for our different clients. In Milwaukee, I live with my partner of 20 years, and we have 12-year-old twins who, boy, 12 is a fun age, but they are.
That's a lot.
That's a super fun age, but we're having a great time. We just had our big Pride Festival here in Milwaukee, and it was great.
Love it. Well, thank you both for joining me for this episode. Before we get into it, I do want to take a moment, and I do want to talk about Sterling's global commitment to diversity and inclusion. I would like to read our statement, and I would love to gather just some quick thoughts from the two of you before we get into all the questions I have for you both today. So Sterling is committed to diversity and inclusion by championing and accepting individual uniqueness and cultivating a safe culture of belonging so that everyone can perform at their best in support of our clients, candidates, and communities we serve. Our diversity and inclusion commitment is brought to life through 3 strategic focus areas: a people-first environment, an inclusive culture, and marketplace and engagement. And then we have employee resource groups, also known as ERGs. You're going to hear that acronym a lot throughout today's episode. They are a key component to our D&I strategy. So, Mark, just initial thoughts from our statement and our commitment.
Yeah, so I think it's really important to be front and center with a diversity commitment if that is something that's important for a business, and for Sterling it is. Some businesses don't feel that way, and that's totally fine. But I think Sterling's role and the way we engage with individuals, the way we engage with our clients, and the kind of culture that we want to have, it's really important for us to be upfront about these are our goals, these are our commitments, and this is how we feel about diversity and inclusion. And of course, it's important to make a statement, but we all need to acknowledge you can't just make a statement and make it true. There's a lot of work. There's always a long road ahead, no matter how far along that road you are. It just keeps going and going. And I think that, at Sterling, we've done a lot of work and we've had a lot of success in driving diversity and inclusion, and we still have a lot more to do. And it's exciting that there's a lot of people to do it and that we have this really clear, firm commitment. And that's important to our clients as well, because we interact with every single one of our clients' employees. And we don't only have to make sure that our people are included, but we have to make sure that our clients' people are included. So I think this is really, really important. And I'm proud to work for a company that has this kind of commitment.
Me too, of course. Denise, quick thoughts from you on our commitment in the statement.
Yes, definitely. I feel exactly what you're just saying, Mark. Sterling doesn't just have a statement out there to have words on a page, right? They stand behind those words and want to do the actions that come with it. It's so important that if we say something, we do something. And I feel like Sterling, even just through a few of the ERGs that I belong to, I know they're showing that commitment to diversity and showing that commitment to bringing your whole self to work. That the idea of people first resonates throughout Sterling.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I love, honestly, both the reactions from both of you there. So quick reminder to our audience, if you are watching us live right now on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube, welcome, and thank you for joining us live. If you have any questions or comments, the way in which you'll submit is through the platform. So on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube, the comment section, you'll just go ahead and put it in there. So, and I will get questions, comments over to Mark and Denise as I see fit throughout the episode. So let's get into it. Let's talk Pride Month. Mark, I'm coming to you first with this question. What does Pride Month mean to you?
I'm worried I'm going to steal all of Denise's thunder if I go first.
No, you both are unique. You've got different answer.
But no, I think we're going to have some diverse answers on this one. It's interesting. Pride Month on a personal level doesn't really mean a lot to me, honestly. I'm not, I'm kind of a homebody. I don't go to all the events and parties and parades and all that make up Pride Month. And I have, the corporate Pride logos and Pride banners. I have them on my LinkedIn and on my email signature all year round. I don't just hold out for Pride Month. But that said, I think it's really important because we've made a lot of progress in the last century and longer in LGBTQIA plus rights and inclusion, but we still have a ways to go. And there's a lot. It's really important to take time to reflect on how far we've come and all the work that we still need to do as a community and as a world to ensure that we're including people. So I think Pride Month is a good way to do that. I mean, all the fun and activities is great, but also just the visibility is really critical. And this is sometimes, in some places, in some situations, this is the only time of year we get that visibility.
Of course. And I love that you brought up all of the artwork across your Zoom, your LinkedIn, everything like that. And it was so great to partner, with our Safe ERG. We'll get into our Safe ERG a little bit later, but, with the team to come up with the visual brand identity for it, because we want people to have it up all the time if they want to. So it's not strict to, a month, a couple of days, things like that. So I love that you brought it up. I love that you have it across all of your things because it looks really nice. And I love that, we can use that as a community for sure. So Denise, what does Pride Month mean to you?
Pride Month to me is definitely different, like Mark had anticipated. It's about the fun and the free, right? I serve on the Milwaukee Pride Board here, and we host the nation's largest Pride Festival on permanent grounds. This year we had 42,000 people there.
Wow.
And it was phenomenal. And as I stood there on Saturday night and just kind of looked out at the crowd, I got the chills and wanted to cry because that was the essence of Pride Month for me. People felt free to be themselves. So that's what Pride Month is, right? You are free to be yourselves. You want to be free year round, right? But in some places and in some moments, it's an extra safe space to be who you are in Pride Month. And I think that is so important, so critical, and especially right now, to make sure that you have a safe space to be free, to be happy, to have fun. celebrating and watching families. And what was so unique to me this year, as I was watching some of the activities going around, is the amount of different types of families coming in. Sorry, my computer decided to go quiet on me there for a minute. The amount of different types of families coming in, from allies, all different intersectionalities. It was just so wonderful to
Mhm.
see. And that celebration of be who you are and love who you love is amazing. And that's what Pride Month is to me.
So sticking with you, Denise, you and Mark both touched on, what it means to you, but you did also bring up, others as well. So I want to dive into that a little bit further. So Denise, sticking with you here, what is the significance of this time for the LGBTQIA plus community?
So, yes, going back to the event that we had here and seeing people be free and happy and in a safe space. So that's the importance of this time. The other importance of this time is understanding the history of what came before us and what lies ahead. It's that reflection of this is the journey that we're continuing on, and the reflection of the past.
Mhm.
So often we celebrate Pride, and as younger generations start celebrating Pride, we forget the struggles, the strife that some people went through to get where we are today. And so it's important to take time during this month to also recognize those people and the work that they did.
I think that's really important. And I'm happy you brought it up, because I think people need to understand that it is okay to look on the past and understand it, but we can still have fun and celebrate things. And it's important that we do all of it, like you had mentioned. So really, really great point there. And I'm really happy that you brought that up. So Mark, what do you feel is the significance to the community during this time?
I think Denise said it really well, so I'm not going to repeat anything. I think she said it perfectly. The one thing that I would just sort of underscore and repeat is that it's important to be visible. It's important to think about the past and the future and who we are and where we are all the time. But Pride Month is kind of an opportunity to be a little bit more militant about it sometimes. There are communities where we're not seen, where we're not accepted.
Mhm.
And Pride Month is an opportunity to really put it in everyone's face and say, we're here, we're queer, and we're not going anywhere. So that's all I would add.
Love it. Like you said, underscore, timestamp it. Love it. Great. Oh, so good. So good. So I want to move into, a area, that Sterling as an organization does stand firm with, and that's, bringing your authentic self to work. That idea of authenticity, for us with background screening, it's, you're hiring authentic people, they fit your culture and things like that. Denise, real quick, I just saw your cat in the background, so I'm so happy that they made an appearance.
I knew she would.
Yes, I'm so excited she's here and I can hear her. That's great. So welcome. So back to the idea of bringing your authentic self to work. As a business, that's important for us, but it's also really important internally that our employees can do that as well. So Mark, I'll start with you. Can you share something about your own journey on being able to bring your authentic self to work?
Sure. Yeah, I think I'm very lucky. I'm very privileged. I've always been able to bring myself to work. There have been moments of slight discomfort where I was like, well, I'm not really sure about this audience and how it's going to go, but it's always gone well.
Right.
When I started, I mentioned, I sort of started my queer activism in university, and I was very out and proud. I was involved in all kinds of student activities and student government, and the gossip columns in the student newspapers talked about my relationships in the same way they would talk about any relationship. There wasn't any salacious, oh, guess what, he's gay.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, listen to, who's he dating now? And then throughout my career, it's been the same. I've been very privileged. I started my career in Montreal, which is a very open-minded city and a very open-minded country. And when I started at Sterling, I think my husband came up in the job interview organically. Of course, I wasn't asked any inappropriate questions, but this is a thing that you talk about, and it came up, and of course, it wasn't an issue, and I was welcomed from day one.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I forgot to mention, I do have husband I've been with for many years, and we have 2 cats as well. Although my cats won't be making an appearance today. I'm afraid. So it's just always been very natural, and I feel like that that sort of privilege makes me feel like I have an obligation to support those who don't have that experience. And there's people all over the world and closer than I might think who have those kinds of experiences where they may not be comfortable bringing their whole self to work. And so I want to really be committed to helping them.
Yeah, it's important to highlight that aspect as well. Being that the privilege that you've had it shouldn't be like a negative thing. You now use it to support individuals that may have not received that positive feedback that just, standard, we're going to do our job. So I do think it's great that now you use it to support others who need it. That's really, really great to hear. Denise, same question to you. Can you share something about your own journey and bringing your authentic self to work?
Yeah. So in my roles growing up and in college, I was part of different things, the gay straight alliances that would happen in college. And then I went into the workforce. And as soon as that happened, I kind of like shut myself down. It was a very interesting time for me. I didn't have the same feeling to be free to be myself that maybe Mark just shared from the get-go. Fast forward many, many years, and I'm at Sterling, and I definitely feel the difference, right? So here, I don't ever feel like I have to not talk about what I did on the weekend with my partner or share pictures of us. I feel very open, free, and able to do that. And when you're able to do that, and you don't have to worry about saying the right thing or not saying this or not sharing that, then you can be more of yourself and bring, you don't have to waste that energy, and you can dedicate more to work. And so I think that's the biggest key in being able to bring your whole self to work, is that you don't have to worry about that stuff that's going on back there and what you should or shouldn't say, because you're able to just be you and get your work done in a much more happy place, right? A much more fulfilled place. As I think back over my career, I definitely know there was times where it was a struggle and it was uncomfortable, and I'd have pictures and it's like, well, do I put that picture up on my desk or do I not? And maybe it's just my age as I get older, and I'm kind of just like, you know what, I'm me, and you're going to love me or you're not going to love me, either which way. But definitely feeling more free to be who I am and bring my full self to work all the time. And to Mark's point, while I don't understand everyone's challenges, I always try to make sure that if I know someone who might be in that place, that I provide them with support.
Of course. Yeah, I think what I've learned over the past couple of years with, joining a couple of our ERGs and understanding, certain individuals and, what they're going through and I think that was something, Denise, that I've learned from other people, that it is exhausting. And it takes so much time sometimes to not share certain things, to worry about if you're saying the right thing. And then no one gets their job done. And that's what we're all here for. We're here to move our business forward. We're on the same team. So, and it really, that impacted me the most, to hear that about some individuals, that you have to stop and think. But I love that you are in a position now where you're just not wasting that time. We're going to do our jobs. We're going to share everything about our lives, because clearly it's some good stuff. So really, I absolutely loved both of your responses to that question, for sure. And again, really tying back to the organization, it is so important to be able to bring your authentic self. And we're getting a ton of comments on LinkedIn from our employees saying that they are really proud to work here, and they can see it every single day, that we are creating this environment where people can show up, they are accepted, they can be themselves. So love that positive reinforcement out on LinkedIn coming in from our employees, because it's true. And it puts a big smile on my face, clearly. So I want to talk a little bit about, your roles within Sterling. Let's see here. So Denise, I'll stick with you. For both of you working both in legal and finance, what is the significance of the intersection between the work that you guys are doing, but being a part of the LGBTQIA plus community?
Awesome. So the work that I do doesn't necessarily directly impact the community, right? So for me, it's more looking at how do I impact the general community of finance, right? I was looking at some different stats the other day, and it was like 26% of finance professionals are female. Then it lowers to like 10% are Hispanic and 5% are LGBT. And so that intersectionality of being a female who's Hispanic and part of the LGBT in a finance role is important. But
Right.
there's probably not a whole bunch of little girls out there watching and going, hey, I can't wait to be in the finance profession when I grow up. Probably like one in the world that's dreaming of that.
That's
But
okay.
the fact is that representation matters, right?
Of course.
And so seeing people like yourself in a finance role is really important. And so I feel that's where that intersectionality of finance and being part of this community, as well as other intersectionalities, really comes into play for me.
Of course. Yeah. And representation does matter. I think I've propped this up on a couple of episodes of Sterling Live before. When I joined Sterling, to see the amount of females in leadership positions, I was like, wow, this is the place I want to be. It's not something that's for me right now, but in the future, of course, would love that. So to see an environment for me to come into and to see someone that looks like me and does things like me, that's really great. So really, really great point there, because it does matter. So maybe we do have some finance hopefuls watching us. So if you impact one, that's all that matters. And if we have a younger audience, that's great too. So we'll definitely see. So Mark, same question over to you, but obviously on the legal side of things.
Sure. So I think I'm really glad to hear Denise's answer, because I think that's so critical, and there's so many ways that visibility is really important. I'm going to take the question in a different direction, because really for me it's about the subject matter of the work that I do that's so important. Being who you are and having the freedom to be who you are, think the way you think, love who you love. You have to have privacy to be able to do that. You can't, there have to be protections to make sure that you can choose who knows what about you, and for safety. Not everybody in the LGBT, not all people in all LGBTQIA communities want to be visible. Visibility is great for some of us. It's not great for everyone, and you can't control that without privacy. And so, privacy, which is really all about the control and protection of personal information, I think there's just a really clear overlap there. And a big part of the work that I do at Sterling is making sure that our employees have the ability to maintain their private lives, and not have it intruded by their employer, and also to make sure that people who we're screening are able to share what they want to share and not be forced to share things that they don't. And these things come up every day where someone says, I don't want my new employer, I'm just starting a new job, I don't want them to know I'm transgender. And why should they? But background checks can be invasive. And so by having the right controls in place and by taking the right steps, and having the right messaging out there and having people who can help, here at Sterling, we can help people through those kinds of situations and make sure that their privacy is maintained. So for me, there's a really, really strong connection there. And it's I get particularly excited when I can, in my day-to-day work, do something that supports an LGBTQIA person or community.
Absolutely. And a clear, direct correlation right there. Really, really awesome for our audience to hear that and how you laid it out very, very nicely. I'm smiling and laughing a little bit from a comment we just got on LinkedIn. Denise, it is from one of your colleagues, and they wrote #love Denise Haussy. So you are now a hashtag. I'd love to get that trending.
That's great. That was the best news of the day.
It's from Gary Burns, so you can give him a nice big thank you. Gary, we love her too. So this is just so great. That makes me smile so much. Let's go ahead and talk. I mentioned it earlier. I mentioned our employee resources group, but I also did bring up SAFE. So this is one of our employee resources groups. So I want to dive into that now and get some details from the two of you. So Mark, I'll start with you here. What does SAFE stand for, and what role does this employee resource group play at Sterling?
Sure. So SAFE stands for Sterling Acceptance for Everyone.
Perfect.
It's the LGBTQIA plus resource group at Sterling for Sterling employees. And I think, and I'm kind of saying this in my own words. So Denise, I would love it if you would interject with your thoughts as well. But to me, there's really a dual role. One is to create a safe space for LGBTQIA plus employees to be themselves, to share their stories or to not share their stories and just listen to each other, and feel included and really actively be a part of the Sterling community and be acknowledged. But also it's an important tool to educate the entire Sterling community about who we are, what kinds of experiences we have that are unique, and how they can be an ally to queer people.
Yeah. The idea of listening, I think the ERGs do a really good job propping that up. While I am a member of our women's network, I have popped in on a couple of other ERGs to listen. That is my role there. And I think it's important that we do showcase that you can do that and you should be doing that. So I'm happy that you brought that point up. But Denise, yeah, definitely, the importance, the role that this ERG plays at Sterling.
Mark, I think you nailed it right on the head, right? It's really twofold. I view it as a safe space for people to come in and participate or not to their level of comfort. And then a place where people can learn more. I won't get too far ahead of myself here, but we've done a lot of great things in this ERG over the past couple of years that I know I'm really proud of. I'm sure Mark's really proud of too. And I know that Peter Walker, as our CFO and executive sponsor for the SAFE ERG, is also really proud of the work that this group does to make sure that it's an inclusive, safe space for everyone.
We'll definitely expand on it. You're not getting ahead of yourself. You can respond now. What has the group learned over the last couple of years as it continues to evolve?
Yes. So we have done Ask Me Anythings. There was a lot of that happened last year in 2022, and they were so well received. We would have a panel of speakers come. They were internal for the most part, and there'd be the chance for them to share their stories and for people to really learn the experiences of the community. And I learned a lot during that time from people's experiences and what their needs are and where they're at. And I think that is the best thing that we can do is meet people where they're at and learn about them. We've also had great connections with different organizations like the Ali Forney Center in New York. And then this past quarter, we actually had a global representation. We're a global company. And so one of the key goals for SAFE this year is to showcase that we're global. So we had representatives from Brazil, from the Philippines, and from Mumbai on the call telling about their experiences in those countries, which I think is phenomenal because there's so much to learn there. At least for me, I'm like, wow, this is going to be great to learn about all these places that I've never been and don't know much about.
Yeah, it's critical for us, as an organization with, what we're doing again as a business, but then internally that global focus is so important. And like you said, you're learning so much from, bringing just key groups in together. Really, really great there. So yeah, Mark, any other learnings that, you're thinking of right now, that you've learned over the past couple of years?
Yeah, I think, just to add on to, Denise's point there about being global, I think we always have to be reminding ourselves of the diversity of our organization and the diversity of our communities. It's easy to fall into the trap where most of Sterling's global leadership is in North America. That's a fact. That's a fact that we're all aware of. It's a US-based company, but most of our employees are not in North America, and so being mindful of that and keeping all of the different experiences and realities around the world, the different types of intersectionality with LGBTQIA plus identities, different ways that gender identity and sexual identity are expressed in different cultures. I think we've learned a lot, and I think we've done a pretty good job of trying to make sure that all of those voices are heard, and that we're not just focusing on our narrow experience. And even outside of the different countries, there's also just so many different identities and communities. There is no blob that is LGBTQ, etc. there's no, it's a conglomeration of many very different communities with very different experiences. And so making sure that we're talking about, all of the different identities that fall into the spectrum and that are really all represented, whether we know it or not. There are people,
Right.
so many different people represented. And what we've seen that's made me so proud of the work that we've done is we've seen several people sort of come out of the woodwork, people who weren't out at work,
Right.
People who were working at Sterling who listened in to ERGs. And because, I'm going to digress a little bit here, but there's, I think there's reasonable, you can debate whether an ERG should really be kind of an exclusive space for employees who all share our characteristics to be safe just with each other and not invite everybody else. That's not the path we've taken. We've kept it open, which is helpful because it allows people to come who maybe aren't out, and by showing up, it doesn't out them. And they've then come out of the woodwork and said, "Hey, actually, I think I'm ready to come out. Like I'm transgender and I haven't told my team and I haven't told this isn't me coming out. This is telling someone else's story. I'm certainly not going to.
I was saying it's not on the agenda, but
and I haven't shared this with my team. I haven't shared this with my supervisors, and I'm ready. Or someone who's struggling with their own identity but coming to the ERG starts to see it fall into place. We've seen that happen more than once, and it's been really magical. And I think just that impact on those people and the way we've all been able to share in it has been incredibly powerful.
And you should be proud of it. The work that the entire SAFE team has put together, it's really astounding to see, everything that you've done. So with that being said, and I'm smiling because I'm looking, there's so many comments coming through on LinkedIn, just so much positivity. And it really is, as you guys are talking, I'm looking over there, and it's really a really engaging conversation that we're having, both with the three of us, but then out on LinkedIn as well. So someone had mentioned that, the two of you are true leaders to this organization and to this community. So I want to say thank you for that, but I want to play on that, being leaders of the SAFE ERG. I want to know, what drew you to become that leader, to take the position in this employee resource group. So Mark, I will stay with you to answer this question first.
Sure. I'll just go back to I talked about the privilege that I've had of never having to face a lot of adversity. Because I'm queer. So I think the combination of that privilege, and then also the privilege of being in a visible leadership position. I've been for the last number of years in a position where I interact with a lot of people. A lot of people across the whole company know who I am, and that platform is a really excellent. I feel like when I was approached about taking a leadership role with the ERG, I thought this is a great opportunity for me to share some of this privilege that I've accumulated, and be visible and say, hey, this is, I'm look where I am. I started at the bottom of this company. Literally, I started in the most basic entry level role, and now I'm in a leadership position where I have a platform, and I can say, like, this is anybody can succeed here. So yeah, that's kind of what was important for me.
Yeah, I love that. Denise, what drew you into becoming a leader within the SAFE ERG?
So just a really quick backdrop and tying to an earlier conversation we're having about bringing your whole self to work. So I was talking with Peter right after I had started, and it was like maybe a week in, and he messaged me and he said, how about you join our steering committee? So it was like that quick.
Yeah.
Peter reaching out and saying, because I was able to bring my whole self to work from the get-go. And I joined the steering committee, and I served on the steering committee for about a year. And I wanted to take that next level. Right. And when I was approached, I was like, yes, this is a good time for it. This is a good time for me personally and within my career at Sterling. So it felt like a right time. And honestly, I just want to keep giving as much back as I can, right, whether it's through the ERG at work or personal board involvement and things around my city to the LGBT community. I feel like I spent so much of my life not being free in who I was that now I'm like all extra and about it. My family often jokes because there was never a rainbow around me, right? And now there's rainbows everywhere. My partner brought me home rainbow pride flowers
I can
yesterday
see them.
because
They're
I'm all about
beautiful.
the rainbows now. So it's just, as I continue my own personal journey, I want to be able to share and lead others on their journey. So that's exactly why I do this now.
Of course. And, I feel in such great company with the two of you. I'm actually on the steering committee for the Women's Network, and it was something I wanted to do right away. And it's just been amazing. And I look up to the both of you because I'd love to take that next step of being a leader with one of our ERGs as well. I feel, so passionate about them. We're clearly seeing some great progress. And it's like the two of you said, being a support system for those around you and helping individuals in any way you can. So really great. Just love this entire conversation. I really can't stop smiling. So one more question for the two of you that I have. So I want to talk about allyship and how important it is. So Denise, I'll come to you first. What is the importance of allyship, and how are we promoting this within Sterling by the way of the ERG?
Allyship is hugely important, right? When members of the LGBT community are pushing for equality and pushing for rights, having the support of people who aren't in the community just speaks that much more volume, right? So allyship to me is so critical, right? Not only within Sterling, but just in the world in general, to have people back, holding our backs, standing with us, walking with us, whatever the case may be, right? Knowing that full support is so important.
Yeah. Mark, what is the significance of allyship for you?
Yeah, allyship is important. It's critical. It's also really, really hard. I think a lot of people, you think, okay, I feel solidarity with other communities, and so I'm an ally. And it's not that easy. You have to, allyship is something where you have to take positive steps when you're confronted with hard situations where people are saying things they shouldn't be saying, or, ignorance needs to be addressed. And if you're going to be a good ally, and like, we all aspire to this. I don't think anybody really fully succeeds. I certainly don't. But to be a good ally, you want to step up and you want to, be the one to address some of these things, which is really, really hard to do. And I think, we have, through the ERG and through, allyship training that's offered to all employees, we give a lot of hints and clues and ideas about things you can do, big and small, because not everybody has to be the superhero who saves the world and steps up and fixes all the problems. But just little things that people can do. And we do a lot to remind people of those things. And I think it's really important within the SAFE ERG specifically to be constantly mindful of the allyship we need to give each other within LGBTQ communities. Within our communities and between our communities, there's racism, there's ableism, there's transphobia, there's biphobia, there's ageism. There's all kinds of things where we are failing each other as LGBTQ people. And the ERG helps, sort of bring us together and remind each other that we need to do better and we need to do more. And there's lots of ways we can do it. And so we build allyship into, I think, every single meeting. It's on the agenda every time. There's always different content about allyship. So I think we've done a lot, but we still have lots more to do, and I'm excited to keep doing it. Yeah,
it's definitely important. And I think Sterling does a really good job, with the ERGs partnering with the people and culture team. For me, being an ally to multiple communities, there's so many things that you can do to be an ally. So Mark, I think it's really important that you brought that up, because I think some people do think that they have to check off all the boxes, or they just think it's saying the words, I am an ally. But there's so much education every single month, every single quarter, from the ERGs, from the people and culture team within Sterling, of here's what you can do. So I'm always reading those, and I love that. And like you said, it's a part of your agenda every single meeting. So joining those meetings and understanding. So again, really important. I think that you brought that up. So real quickly, I do want to just say, if you are watching live on Facebook, LinkedIn, or YouTube, again, thank you for tuning in live. If you have any final comments or questions, please go ahead and get them in the comment section across these three platforms now. And as we wait for anything else to come in, I do want to gather just some final thoughts. I mean, we've already gone through so much and it's been so great, but just some final thoughts from the two of you before we wrap up today's episode. So Denise, I will start with you with some final thoughts.
Yeah. So my final thoughts are really just happy Pride Month to everyone that's out there in the LGBT community, but celebrate that pride, celebrate yourself all year round. It's not a 1 month thing. It's great to have this 1 month where we celebrate it, but it's all year round and we need to be proud of ourselves all the time. And then to our allies, thank you always for your support, and continue to join our Safe ERG meetings and learn more and be active.
Celebrate you. I love that. I'm going to start saying that every day. Celebrate you. It's really good advice. And all year round, all year round. Mark, final thoughts from you.
Celebrate you should be our Pride tagline next year. We'll have
I
to
love
note that
it.
down.
I know. I have to the marketer in me is like,
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, thank you so much, Caitlin, for having us and for doing this. I think this has been really fun, and thanks everybody for tuning in. Really, Sterling's such a great place to work, and I love that I can bring myself to work, and so many other people can too, and that we can all be a part of it. That's really all I've got to say. The one last thing I want to say is, and I don't think we actually made this clear earlier on in the discussion, is that, the Safe ERG has been around for a few years. I started as a leader, but then was more than happy to pass the torch to Denise last year. And she's just been doing such a fantastic job. And I could not be more grateful that Denise was willing to step up and take charge, because she's just been doing an absolutely amazing job. So thank you, Denise, for all of your
Thank you,
work.
Mark. Thank you.
I do. I love that. I love that transition. You gave it to her. I love that. It's great to have both of you on this episode. It's clearly perfect that we had you both. But yes, so one of the comments that came in earlier, talking about the two of you being good leaders, also said, thank you for being you. So I want to relay that message, not only from one of your employees or one of your colleagues, but for me as well. I do want to not only thank you for joining me on this episode of Sterling Live, I want to thank you for being you as well. Both of you are tremendous leaders within the organization on so many levels. And I've learned so much from the both of you over the past couple of years. And I learned so much on this 40-minute episode of Sterling Live today. So with that being said, I want to thank our audience for tuning in live, or if you're tuning in on demand, thank you. I want to thank Denise and Mark so much for being outstanding guests. You can't run away from me because you will be coming back on Sterling Live. So maybe we'll talk about, Mark, you've been on for privacy. Denise, maybe we'll get you on for some, finance talk here. But I appreciate the both of you so much for coming on with me today. So thank you. And I will catch everyone on the next episode of Sterling Live.
Thanks, Caitlin.
Thank you.
Of course. Happy Pride Month.
Happy Pride.